Hey guys, Horror Lorekeeper here. Big one today. The FNAF 2 movie is almost here, and the theory board looks like red yarn wrapped around a pizza cutter. So this is FNAF 2 movie theories you have to watch before the movie. Not just who bites who, but the timeline weirdness, why those Withereds look the way they do, how the puppet probably rewrites the rules, and what the film might be doing with Golden Freddy, Mangle, and our favorite Hello Gremlin. We'll hit designs, behavior, the story spine, and the bold predictions you'll want in your back pocket when the lights go down. Take a breath, get comfy, we're going back to Freddy's. For the last year, ever since the credits rolled on the first 5 nights at Freddy's movie, this entire community, myself included, has been convinced of one absolute undeniable fact. Mike Schmidt's little brother Garrett is the puppet. It made perfect sense, right? It was the neatest bow on top of a messy lore package. You had the robotic voice spelling out COMEFINDME at the end of the credits, while the puppet's music box theme played in the background. It was practically screaming at us. Mike is the protagonist, Garrett is his lost brother, and the puppet is the one animatronic that guides the others. It fit the narrative arc perfectly. We all filed that theory away as solved, and moved on to arguing about the color of a cupcake. But then, the trailer for the sequel dropped, and it didn't just poke a hole in that theory, it completely destroyed it. Because if you were paying attention to the new Five Nights at Freddy's 2 trailer, you heard a specific line of dialogue that changes everything. A character explicitly says, "Some little girl got murdered here." In the FNAF universe, you don't drop a line like that accidentally. That is a neon sign, because we know who that little girl is. And if she is in this movie, then Garrett is out of a job. So today, we aren't just reacting to a trailer, we are rewriting the roadmap for the entire FNAF movie trilogy. Because if Garrett isn't the puppet, then who is he? I think I figured out exactly who Mike's brother is going to become. And if I'm right, the third movie is going to be absolutely heartbreaking. Let's start by looking at the evidence, because I know there are still some holdouts saying, no, Garrett can still be the puppet. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the evidence against it is mounting. Let's look at that trailer again. We are introduced to a new group of characters, presumably paranormal investigators, breaking into the old pizzeria. One of them, played by McKenna Grace, drops that bombshell line, "Some little girl got murdered here." Now, for casual viewers, that might just sound like spooky backstory, but for us hardcore fans, that points to one specific person, Emily, Charlie. In the game lore, Charlie is the daughter of Henry Emily, William Afton's business partner. She was Afton's very first victim. She was killed outside the restaurant, left in the rain, and her spirit went on to possess the puppet. She is the protector. She is the one who gave gifts, gave life to the other animatronics. The movie trailer isn't being subtle about this connection either. We see a black and white photo of a young girl. Look closely at what she's wearing. Visual note, zoom in on photo, stripes. She is wearing a striped shirt. Who is the one character in this franchise defined by a black and white striped aesthetic? The puppet. Later in the trailer, we see a flashback sequence, a birthday party, a girl crying, standing on a platform that looks suspiciously like a trapdoor mechanism, while everyone else watches. This is almost certainly the moment of her death, or the moment just before it. So let's follow the logic here. The movie is introducing Charlie, which it is keeping her backstory as the murdered little girl. It is keeping her visual motif with the stripes. If Charlie is the puppet, then Garrett isn't. And this leaves us with a massive narrative problem. Think about the structure of the first movie. The entire emotional core of that film was Mike Schmidt's guilt. He is obsessed with the kidnapping of his brother. He reads books on dream theory to try and remember the face of the kidnapper. Afton taunts him with it. "I killed your brother." You do not build up a mystery that big. You do not make it the central motivation of your main character just to leave the kid as a ghost in the background who never shows up again. Garrett has to come back. He has to be someone important. He has to be someone powerful enough to give Mike closure. If he's not the puppet, there is really only one other option that fits the weight of the story. And honestly, the answer has been staring us in the face since 2015. Garrett is the movie universe's version of the crying child. Now hold on, I know what you're thinking. But HLK, the crying child is an Afton. His name is Evan or Dave or Cece. Garrett is a Schmidt, yes I know, but remember the golden rule of these movies, the remix method. The movie timeline is not a 1.1 adaptation of the games. It is a remix. Scott is taking the best parts of the books, the games, and the fan theories, and combining them into a streamlined story that makes sense for a movie audience. In the movie, we already have Vanessa. In the games, Vanessa is a security guard manipulated by Glitchtrap in the modern era. In the movie, she is William Afton's daughter in the 90s. The roles shift, but the core dynamics stay the same. So look at the dynamic between the crying child and his brother in the games. In the games, the crying child dies because of a tragedy involving animatronics at a young age. His older brother, Michael Afton, feels immense guilt for causing the death. Michael spends the rest of his undead life trying to fix his father's mistakes and free the spirits to atone for what happened to his brother. Now look at the movie. Garrett dies because of a tragedy involving Afton at a young age. His older brother, Mike Schmidt, feels immense guilt for failing to stop him. Mike is now spending his life trying to solve the mystery and free the spirits to atone for what happened to his brother. Do you see it? The narrative DNA is identical. Mike Schmidt is Michael Afton, narratively speaking, and Garrett is the crying child. But here's where we get into the heavy theory territory. If Garrett is the crying child figure, what animatronic does he possess? Because in the games, the crying child doesn't just possess a random endoskeleton. He is part of something much bigger. He is part of Golden Freddy. This brings us to one of the most famous theories in FNAF history, the Golden Duo. The idea that the Golden Freddy suit contains not one, but two souls. One is the vengeful spirit, the one who is angry, who refuses to move on, who wants to torture Afton forever. The other is the crying child, sad, confused, broken, and just wants his birthday party. Let's look at the first movie again. We met Golden Freddy. He shows up at Mike's house to kill the ant. He's the one watching from the doorway, and we see the spirit associated with him, the blonde kid. Now, that blonde kid, he is pure rage. When Afton is dying in the springlock suit at the end of the movie, the blonde kid is watching with a smile on his face. He locks the door. He is the leader of the attack on Abby. He fits the profile of the vengeful spirit perfectly. Cassidy, Andrew, whoever you want to call him from the games, that's the blonde kid. But Golden Freddy has always been different from the other animatronics. He can teleport. He causes hallucinations. He can say, "It's me." He operates on a different level of spectral energy. In the books, specifically the Fazbear Fright series, we see the Stitch Wraith, an animatronic possessed by two souls, one angry, one sad. It's a direct parallel. My theory is that the second or third movie will reveal that Golden Freddy isn't just the blonde kid. Garrett is in there too. This actually explains a huge plot hole from the first movie that has bothered me for months. Why did William Afton recognize Mike? When he reads the name Mike Schmidt, he pauses. He says, "I like that name." Later, he knows exactly who Mike is. A lot of people assume this is just because Afton killed his brother, but Afton is a serial killer. He's killed a lot of kids. Why remember this one specifically? Because Garrett wasn't just a random abduction. We know from the lore that Afton isn't just killing for fun. He is a mad scientist. He is researching Remnant, the substance that binds souls to metal. He is trying to figure out how to put people back together. "I will put you back together." That is his catchphrase regarding the crying child. I believe Afton abducted Garrett specifically to experiment on him. He didn't just stuff him in a suit like the others. He tried something different. He bound him to the same vessel as the blonde kid, creating the unstable, powerful entity that is Golden Freddy. And this recontextualizes the "Find Me" message from the credits. We thought it was the puppet telling Mike to find him, but is Golden Freddy's catchphrase. What if "Come Find Me" is Garrett calling out from inside the Golden Freddy suit, trapped beneath the vengeful spirit's rage? This also brings us to the new trailer and those leaked script pages. Remember the script pages Scott leaked for the anniversary? One of them seemed fake because it talked about haunted plushies and burning them. We all laughed. Haunted plushies sounds like Goosebumps. But look at the new trailer again. There is a specific shot of Vanessa, Afton's daughter, opening a closet. Inside there is a box. She pulls out a collection of toys, marbles, a book, and Garrett's toy airplane. Why does she have that? In the first movie, we see that Afton gave it to her, but why is she keeping it in a special box? Why is she laying it out like a ritual? In the Silver Eyes novels, Henry pours his grief into a doll, bringing it to life. In the Fazbear Fright stories, agony and emotions can infect objects. I think Vanessa knows the truth. I think she knows that Garrett isn't fully gone. She is hoarding these objects, the plane, the toys, because they are conduits. She might be trying to reach him, or she might be protecting him. This sets the stage for how the rest of this trilogy is going to play out. And honestly, if I'm right, the structure is beautiful. FNAF 2, the movie coming out this December, is going to be the tragedy. It's going to focus on Charlie and the puppet. We are going to see the origins of the murders. We are going to see the toy animatronics going haywire, likely because the puppet is waking them up to protect the kids, or because Afton's influence is corrupting them. Mike and Vanessa are going to have to survive the week. They are going to learn about Charlie. Yerp. They are going to realize that the rabbit isn't the only ghost in town, but the big reveal, the cliffhanger of FNAF 2, it won't be Afton coming back. It will be Mike realizing that his brother is right there in the room with him. He's been fighting him the whole time. Garrett is the ghost in the machine. That leads us to FNAF 3. If FNAF 2 is about the puppet, FNAF 3 has to be about the resolution. It has to be the end. And you can't end FNAF without the happiest day. For those who haven't memorized every pixel of the FNAF 3 minigames, the happiest day is the secret good ending. You play as a child in a mask, walking through a party. You gather the other children. You give cake to a crying child. And when they finally get their party, the masks fall to the floor and the spirits are set free. This is Mike's endgame. His goal isn't just to survive 5 nights. His goal is to put the spirits to rest. In the movie version of this, Mike has to separate Garrett from the vengeful spirit. He has to give the ghosts the birthday party they were denied. This aligns perfectly with that leaked script page about burning the plushies and burning it all down. You can't have a FNAF finale without a fire. Fire is the only thing that destroys Remnant. Fire is the only thing that releases the souls. So picture the finale of the 3rd movie. The location is burning down. Maybe it's the horror attraction. Maybe it's the Pizzaplex. Who knows? Afton is burning. The puppet is burning. And Mike is there with Golden Freddy. He has to help the blonde kid let go of his anger. He has to help Garrett find peace. He hands them the cake. The balloons float up. The suits deactivate. It is the only way to end Mike's arc. He failed to save his brother's life, but he can save his brother's soul. It fits so well that I am almost scared it's too obvious. So circling back to the FNAF 2 trailer, when you see the withered animatronics, when you see the toy animatronics with their facial recognition, when you see Balloon Boy laughing in the sewers, understand that those are just the obstacles. They are the monsters of the week. The real story is hiding in the background details. It's in the black and white photo of Charlie confirming she is the puppet. It's in the toy airplane Vanessa is hoarding in her closet. It's in the guilt that is still eating Mike alive. Garrett isn't the puppet. The puppet is the guide. Garrett is the victim. He is the crying child. He is the missing piece of Golden Freddy. And we are going to have to wait until the very end of this trilogy to see him finally get his party. I want to know what you guys think in the comments. Is the Golden Duo theory finally making it to the big screen? Or do you think Scott is going to pull a fast one and make Garrett possess, I don't know, the cupcake? Actually, please don't let it be the cupcake. That thing is a menace. Also, if you want to see how we predicted the plot of the first movie almost frame for frame, check out this video right here. It's wild how much we got right and how much we got wrong about the ending. But that's it for today. Just following the story beats humming under the music box, and the theories that keep the comment sections alive. Darkest theory behind Vanessa's role in the FNAF 2 movie. We're gonna look at how she shows up, what she looks like and acts like, how the story could position her, and then we'll get into the big picture theories that tie her to Afton, glitch trap style control, and even the idea of her being the one who actually carries the franchise's evil into the future. So sit back, relax, and let's dive back into the world of FNAF. First, we need to park this in the right corner of the universe. The first FNAF movie set up a world where Freddy Fazbear's Pizza is a real, haunted place. William Afton is real, and Vanessa is the conflicted daughter who helped cover it up. A FNAF 2 movie, at least the way fans imagine it, almost has to go one of 2 directions. Either we go backward to the heyday of the pizzeria with more murdered kids and more animatronics, or we go forward into a world where the cover-up is crumbling and someone has to keep Fazbear's secrets buried. Vanessa fits in both timelines. She's the bridge character. She's the person who knows way too much. So picture this, a slightly expanded Fazbear environment, more rooms, more storage, maybe an underground parts parts and service corridor that was never on the blueprints. Flickering fluorescent lights, long hallways that used to be for birthday parties but now feel like maintenance tunnels. That's the stage Vanessa walks back onto. Before we talk theories, we need to actually see her.
Starting to think maybe you fell asleep on the job. Please, her name's Vanessa.
In the first movie, she wore the sheriff's deputy look. Neat, controlled, very I'm trustworthy, I'm local law enforcement. In a FNAF 2 movie version of Vanessa, we can imagine that look carried forward, but off. We can see a uniform that's still official, but a little more worn, like she's been working nights she wasn't supposed to. We notice the hair pulled back tighter, expression softer but tired, and when the camera gets close, there's that expressionless but unsettling quality, like someone who's constantly managing guilt. Maybe she's swapped to darker tones, maybe she keeps her badge but doesn't flash it as much. She could be carrying a flashlight and a binder, props that signal I'm investigating, but also, I have a list of things we're not telling people. Lanky and human, not an animatronic, but framed like one, appearing in doorways, lit from below, watching. So when would we actually encounter her? Easy, she shows up right around the time the mystery starts getting too close to the truth. In a FNAF 2 movie setup, the main character, and whether it's Mike again or a new night guard, starts piecing together that there were more kids, more locations, and more cover-ups than anyone said. That's the trigger. Vanessa appears to help, to warn, to say, you shouldn't be here after dark, or that room is off limits, corporate stuff. On the surface, she's an ally encounter. You run into her in the hallway instead of Freddy, but she's actually a behavioral animatronic. She activates when the story advances. The threat isn't a jump scare, it's information control. She can redirect security, she can tell the guard to log off, she can grant or deny access. In gameplay terms, she's the human equivalent of a security bot, spotted by her, and now the rest of the building is aware of you. And if we take it further, Vanessa can have phases the same way an animatronic does. Early phase Vanessa, helpful, sympathetic, I didn't choose my father. Mid-phase Vanessa, defensive, telling you to drop it, reminding you, these kids have families who don't need this dragged back up.
He was taken. You just have to know how to look.
Your brother. You think you saw who took him?
Late game Vanessa. Fully aligned with the thing in the walls, either the lingering will of William Afton or whatever digital echo of him this continuity wants to use. At that point, she doesn't just block you, she enables the animatronics. She's the one who turns power back on in the wrong wing, or unlocks a service door that lets a Mangled Freddy variant reach you. She's the human door opener. Shop. Now let's hook this into the wider FNAF story, because this is where it gets creepy. In the first movie, Vanessa is revealed to be Afton's daughter. Forced, manipulated, raised inside a lie. That already tells us this universe is comfortable with the idea that human beings can be made complicit in Fazbear's horrors. So if a second movie brings her back, it seems likely that she's not just there to apologize for Dad. She's there because somebody needs to continue the cover-up after Afton is gone. And we all know Afton never really stays gone. It has been theorized in the games, in the books, in fan reading. GS, that Afton's influence survives through code, through remnant, through recordings, through people who were groomed. A FNAF 2 movie could very easily pull from that and say, Vanessa is the relay. She's the one person who knows where the bodies are literally and metaphorically buried, and she was close enough to Afton that bits of his programming, not computer programming, but abuse programming, live in her. The canon in the movies is still pretty open-ended, so we can't say this is officially what Scott meant, but the most accepted reading would be, Vanessa covers things up because she was made to and she never really found a way out. That's a perfect launchpad for a darker theory, so let's walk through how a FNAF 2 movie could actually play out with that in mind.
You need to drop this.
Let it go.
Abby?
We start with the setup. The pizzeria has either reopened in some limited capacity or is being investigated because of the events of the first film. Our protagonist is given a night shift, probably told, don't worry, they're all off, it's just for insurance. Classic FNAF bait. He starts noticing old files, extra security tapes, things that point back to missing children who never made the news. Before we move on, Vanessa shows up. She says something like, you don't have to dig through that, the sheriff already cleared it, and she sounds believable because we already know know her. We trust her voice from movie 1. Exploration phase. The guard ignores her, goes deeper. We tour the building with him. We can see retrofitted party rooms. We notice a closed off parts and service. We notice a bulletin board with kids' drawings half torn down.
Have you met them yet? Prepare to have your mind blown. The best thing you've seen in your entire life?
Every time the guard goes somewhere hot, somewhere tied to the disappearances, Vanessa just happens to be nearby. That's not coincidence, that's surveillance. Rising danger. Animatronics start activating. Maybe we get the toy lineup equivalent in the movie. Brighter, more plastic-looking versions that are supposed to be safe, but they move wrong. One of them corners the guard and then stops like it's waiting for permission. That's where Vanessa becomes terrifying. She can either call them off or not. The horror is that she doesn't always call them off. Sometimes she watches. Sometimes she says, "You weren't supposed to see this." That's the shift from ally to threat. Final confrontation. By the time we get to late game, we've probably uncovered that William Afton didn't just kill kids. He left behind instructions, maybe tapes. Maybe schematics for reusing parts. Maybe a protocol for if authorities investigate, erase X. And Vanessa is the executor of that protocol. She might even be in a hidden control room, lit by cold monitors, walls covered in Fazbear documentation, running door locks, shutting off cameras, talking to the guard over the PA like the puppeteer. She's not the slasher, she's the dispatcher. And if the movie wants to go really dark, it could imply that she's doing this because Afton promised her something, that if she keeps the secret, he'll come back, or he'll forgive her, or he won't hurt her anymore. That's classic FNAF manipulation. With all of that out of the way, this brings us to the final and perhaps most important part. So what does this all mean for Vanessa's role? The likeliest dark theory is this: Vanessa is the inheritor of Afton's will, not in the sense that she wants to kill kids herself, but in the sense that she's the last person standing who will actively preserve his crimes. Afton in this continuity can be dead, burnt, gone. The suit is destroyed, the restaurant is closed, but evil doesn't need him if someone protects the infrastructure he built. Vanessa knows the victims, she knows the animatronics are possessed, and she still keeps it quiet. That makes her scarier than a Freddy jump scare because the animatronics are just haunted machines. Vanessa is a haunted conscience. It seems likely that the movie would use her to show how abuse and secrecy get passed down. Afton hurt kids, but he also hurt her, and now she's keeping the cycle alive. She is the human version of a corrupted file. There's also a Glitch Trap adjacent reading that fits nicely. In the games, Glitch Trap is this digital echo of Afton that can latch onto new hosts. Translate that to a movie and you get Afton may have left behind recordings, code, or even hypnosis-like phrases that can wake up Vanessa. So those moments when she goes from kind to cold, that's not mood, that's activation. Maybe certain rooms, certain audio logs, certain smells in the parts and service area trigger the old programming. That would explain why she's sympathetic 1 minute and covering up murder the next. Fans could point to little cues, a music box starting, a Fazbear training tape playing, and say, that's when Aunt Tun took the wheel. It has been theorized in the community that Vanessa Vanny in other continuities is literally puppeted by a digital Afton. A FNAF 2 movie could take the soft version of that and keep it grounded. Now for an alternative fan reading, because there's always one. Some people are going to want Vanessa to be trying to fix it. In that version, she's not preserving Afton's crimes because she believes in them. She's trying to stop a worse outcome. Maybe Fazbear Entertainment is reopening. Maybe there are new kids coming in. Maybe Vanessa is covering up the past because if the truth gets out, the company will shred everything, including the animatronics, and the souls inside will never be freed. So she stonewalls the guard not out of malice, but because she thinks there's a chance to undo what her father did and she needs to keep the building intact long enough. That would make her a tragic antagonist, not a villain. The canon is vague enough that either works, but the darkest version is still the first one. Vanessa is not corrupted by a suit, she's corrupted by loyalty. What's confirmed in movie, based on the first film's direction, is Vanessa is Afton's daughter. She knew about the kids, she helped cover it up. What's inferred by fans for a sequel is she continues to cover it up, possibly under lingering influence, and she becomes the main human obstacle to the protagonist discovering the full Fazbear Massacre timeline. Everything about her uniform, her access, her timing points to her being the person the company or Afton trusted most with secrets. And that's a really sinister place to leave her, because animatronics can be destroyed, burned, scrapped in parts and service. But a person carrying the secret, a person who thinks keeping Dad's secret is the only way to be loved, that's harder to stop. Vanessa becomes the quiet slasher, not with knives, but with silence. The disturbing hidden details in the FNAF 2 movie trailer, we're gonna walk through what we can see, how the animatronics are presented, the locations, how the human characters are framed, and then go into the theories that explain why the trailer is hiding so much in the background. We'll cover appearance, behavior, story implications, and of course the bigger FNAF lore ties. So sit back, relax, and let's dive back into the world of FNAF.
So you wanna tell me about your bad dreams?
First, let's put this trailer in the right corner of the FNAF universe. This isn't a full reboot, it's clearly a sequel to the first film's events because we can tell they're still using that rundown Fazbear look, still leaning into the 80s 90s Dead Mall aesthetic, but now we're seeing a busier pizzeria, more posters, more color, and what looks like either a second location or a renovated version of the original restaurant. We get those 1 to 2 second flashes of long dark hallways with checkerboard floors, a party room with balloons deflated and stuck on the ceiling, and a parts and service area lit by cold industrial lights. It's not the neon pizzaplex style, it's older, more analog, the kind of place where doors stick and the cameras don't all work. That's important because the trailer wants us to think, oh cool, more rooms, but the details say more places for Fazbear to hide bodies. Let's start with the appearance details the trailer actually gives us, because that's where the horror is sneaking in. Early in the trailer, we can see what's clearly the new Freddy model. Brighter, cleaner, almost toy-like. But if we freeze on the left side of the frame, we notice the jawline is slightly misaligned, like someone forced a new plastic shell over an older endoskeleton. That's a classic FNAF move, pretty on the outside, wrong on the inside. A few shots later, there's a blink and you miss it angle of what looks like Toy Chika. She's glossy and colorful, but the eyes expressionless but unsettling. They don't track the camera, they stare past it like they're locked on something else in the room. And even more disturbing, the beak looks just a bit too sharp for a kid-friendly redesign. We can also see in one of the backstage shots, the one where the flashlight pans across the shelves, a head that shouldn't be there. It's a Freddy head, yeah, but it's more scuffed, more mangled, and nightmarish than the main one. That suggests this location is reusing parts from an older build. That's Fazbear 101, don't throw evil away, just repaint it. Now, when does the viewer encounter these details in the trailer? The editors are doing that thing horror trailers love to do, major scares in the middle, lore crumbs at the edges. The obvious stuff, animatronic jumps, door slams, a kid screaming, is centered. But the really disturbing stuff is at the edges and in the reflections. There's one shot where the security monitor is flickering, and we can see a figure in the hall. But if you look at the monitor frame itself, there's a second reflection, a person, not the guard. That implies someone else is in the building at the same time. The trailer never names them, so we have to assume it's a returning character. And yeah, that lines up with Vanessa watching from the dark again. Another behavior clue, there's a moment where the music box sound starts. You know the soft, tinkly notes FNAF loves, but the animatronic on screen isn't the puppet. Instead, we're seeing a toy-style Bonnie moving slowly down the corridor. That's off. That suggests the triggers are scrambled in this place. Things are activating that shouldn't be activating, or someone is manually triggering them from a control room. So in the movie, that could mean a human antagonist is using the animatronics like guard dogs. Let's talk about the story rhythm the trailer is hinting at. It looks like the movie is going to follow a new night guard or investigator who comes in after the events of the first film. The trailer gives us the setup shot, a character walking into the pizzeria with a flashlight, lights off, everything covered in dust cloths. That's exploration mode. Then we get the midsection of the trailer with fast cuts, animatronics waking, party room lights glitching, someone slamming a security door. That's rising danger. Then, right near the end, the trailer slows down again and shows us a close-up of an animatronic's face, and behind it, blurred, is that a child's drawing taped to the wall? That's not a random prop. Fazbear puts those drawings where something tragic happened. Before we move on, we have to point out the most disturbing environmental detail. There's a basement or lower level. We can tell because the camera angle changes to a staircase shot where the walls are concrete instead of the fun checkered pattern, and there are exposed pipes. That's your parts and service, your storage, we don't tell the health inspector about this. The flashlight beam in that shot hits what looks like a metal table with restraints. That's not for birthday parties. That's either for animatronic maintenance or for keeping someone still. If the trailer is showing that in 2 frames, it wants us to know the horror goes deeper than haunted mascot suits. Alright, let's tie this to the wider FNAF story. The first movie already established the missing children and William Afton as the killer. A sequel trailer showing refurbished animatronics and a deeper facility suggests this location was either still operating after the murders or was quietly prepped to reopen. That means someone was still willing to work with Fazbear assets even after the truth was known. This suggests a cover-up that wasn't just one bad dad, but a whole system. And it seems likely that the human presence we keep seeing in reflections, that blurred figure, that silhouette at the far end of the hallway, is that system's representative. Fans are going to point to Vanessa here because the trailer style is doing that don't show her face clearly trick. You get the side profile, the flashlight, the authoritative walk. It has been theorized that Vanessa, being the one who knew the truth in the first film, becomes almost a handler in the second, trying to keep the animatronics contained, but also trying to keep the secret. So those hidden background shots of someone standing behind glass watching the animatronics thrash. That's your human antagonist protector. Now let's do a mini walkthrough of how this movie could flow, based on the trailer's structure. Setup guard arrives, told it's an old place with some faulty robotics. We see him boot up the monitors. We can see that classic multicam Fazbear layout. Everything looks dead. Then, with all of that out of the way, the trailer shows the first anomaly, a camera feed that flickers, and for just a frame, shows an extra child in the dining room. There are no kids in the building. So either that's a ghostly residue, possessed animatronic stuff, or creepier, an old recording bleeding into the live feed. That's FNAF doing FNAF. Investigation exploration. The guard starts opening doors he's not supposed to. The trailer shows him pushing into a storage room where there are 2 suits on stands. One is clearly the current line. The other is older, stained, maybe even a spring lock style frame. The camera doesn't linger on it, but we notice it. That's a visual reminder Afton existed here. His tech existed here. If the movie wants to revive him, that suit is the door. Rising danger, the animatronics start moving in ways that aren't part of a normal night cycle. The trailer shows a toy-like Freddy turning its head slowly toward the camera, but the eyes don't glow evenly. One is brighter, angry, like it's channeling something. That's the possession angle. Another cut shows a hand, an animatronic hand, scraping along the wall, leaving a dark streak. That's damage that shouldn't be in a kid's restaurant. The disturbing hidden detail here is that the walls have layers of scratches, not just one, meaning this isn't the first time they've been active at night. Final confrontation hint, the trailer ends, or almost ends, with a door being pounded from the other side and the guard screaming. But in the sound mix behind that, really faint, you can hear a woman's voice saying, "Don't let him out." That's not an animatronic line. That's a human line. That's someone who knows exactly what's behind the door. So either Afton or an Afton-like presence is still contained somewhere in this building. And the movie's horror is going to be about keeping him in while the animatronics try to free him. So what does this all mean for the trailer? Let's get into the theory segment. The likeliest theory is that the trailer is showing us 2 threats at once. The public, visible threat, the toy-style animatronics chasing the night guard, and the hidden legacy threat, whatever or whoever is in the basement old suit. The disturbing part is that the human character, probably Vanessa, is on the side of the legacy threat, not because she wants people to die, but because she's still protecting her father's secret or trying to carry out old Fazbear protocols. That would explain why she's always shown watching, not helping. It would explain why he cameras glitch right when the guard finds something. She's cutting the feed. Another fan favorite alternative is that the trailer is hiding the fact that the kids' spirits are getting angrier. Those drawings we saw, one of them in the trailer, looks smudged with red. And yeah, it could just be red crayon, but you know FNAF loves those is it blood or is it paint shots. If those drawings are appearing in places the guard hasn't been, it's a sign the building itself is manifesting memories. So the animatronics aren't just hostile, they're restless. They want recognition, and the human antagonist is stopping that. Fans would read that as the movie is about letting the truth out, and the horror is what happens when you try to suppress it. We should separate what's confirmed in the trailer from what we're inferring. Confirmed multiple animatronics, at least one old suit, a lower level maintenance area, someone monitoring security who is not the main character, and an audio line warning about letting him out. Inferred that Watcher is Vanessa, or someone filling her role, that the old suit is tied to Afton, and that the animatronics are being manually triggered. It's not all on screen, but the pattern lines up too well with what the first movie set up, and that's why these hidden details are so disturbing. Not because they're jump scares, but because they show intent. The restaurant didn't just accidentally stay haunted. Someone kept it that way. Someone made sure the doors still lock, the cameras still run, and the animatronics still have power. That's organized evil, Fazbear style. Alright? That's our breakdown of the disturbing hidden details in the FNAF 2 movie trailer. The background figures, the basement shot, the double animatronic heads, and the voice that absolutely should not be there. If you enjoyed this breakdown, remember to leave a like, comment down below with what you want to see next, and of course subscribe to Horror Lorekeeper for more FNAF and horror content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. The Withered paradox, how the FNAF 2 movie breaks the timeline. We're not just comparing textures or rust, we're asking why these Withereds look like FNAF 1 suits that decayed in place instead of the game-accurate parts donors ripped apart to build the toy line. We'll talk appearance, behavior on screen, how the story frames them, and the big theory, this isn't an adaptation of FNAF 2 at all, it's a pivot into agony and its consequences. Appearance, behavior, story, and theories, so sit back, relax, and we're heading back into the world of FNAF. First, context. In game canon, FNAF 2 is a prequel, new location, bright paint, no doors, toys up front, Withereds in back, torn to pieces because management cannibalized the old crew for parts. That's the loop. Old suits dismantled, toys assembled, the movie swerves. We're placed in a pizzeria that wears the years on its walls water stains, dust on stage lights, the vibe of a party room that never got cleaned after the last birthday. The Withereds on screen, broad shoulders, classic heads, fur clotted with grime, not surgical damage, neglect. That's our starting crisis. Let's actually see them tour style. Movie Freddy, heavy jaw, pitted fur, eyes that catch just enough light to look wrong. Expressionless but unsettling. The silhouette screams FNAF 1 boxier torso, standard ears just sagging. Movie Bonnie, still has a face. It's cracked and dull. Missing. That alone torpedoes the game logic where Withered Bonnie's iconic look is a faceplate ripped off for toy parts. Here, he feels like a suit that sat under a dripping AC vent for a decade and learned to hate humidity. Movie Chica, intact beak, grime ground into the bib threads. No hands jammed down the throat madness. More like a pizza grease fossil. Movie Foxy, curtain rat, less skeletal than the Withered version. You can see exposed endo and seams, sure, but it reads as rot, not extraction. All four look lanky and humanoid the way the classics do, but the damage pattern's different. In the games, the Withereds wear surgery. In the film, they wear time. Okay, so when do we encounter them and what flips the switch? The movie plays the threats like late shift hauntings. Lights choke, a hallway grows longer than it should. The stage breathes. You get the sense that attention triggers them, not factory logic. They stalk more than sprint. Less toy era patrol path, more predator that woke up because the room remembered something. If there are phases, they ramp like this. Phase 1, dormant relics. We pass them in wide shots. Dust floats, nothing moves. Our brain says museum. Phase 2, proximity boots the system. Camera holds too long. A head tilts a hair. A servo motor coughs. Phase 3, late game persistence. Doors aren't a plan. Power doesn't matter. The threat is presence that keeps stepping forward the more we deny the past. In other words, they behave like the classic 4 after years of silence. violence, not like the scrapped FNAF 2 creatures built to be rated for parts. That's already a split. Now, the lore junction. In game canon, the Withereds are the old FNAF 1 bodies pulled from storage for the reopening, then stripped to build the toys. Their wounds are purposeful. Bonnie's missing face, Chica's mangled mouth, Freddy's plates evidence of cannibalization. The movie shows classic era bodies with long-term environmental damage. If these are withered, they're not withered because of the toy line. They're withered because something kept them from ever resting. That something has a name in the books. Agony sustained suffering that clings, corrodes, and makes metal remember. Walk it like a play through the timeline crisis in 5 beats. Set up wrong era. Right ghosts. We arrive expecting a FNAF 2 prequel. Bright paint, toy units, a prize corner somewhere off camera. Instead, we get classic silhouettes slumped on a stage that looks like it slept through a decade. The clock says prequel. The models say sequel that never healed. Your stomach drops. Something's off. Investigation. Where are the toys? We hunt for toy eyes, toy teeth, toy polish. Nothing. Not a single plastic cheek glint. If the Withereds donated parts, their most obvious maimings should be visible. They aren't. The damage is organic decay oxidation, moldy fabric, rust, to halos around screws. No surgical fingerprints. No, we built the next generation from your face scars. Rising danger. The building won't let go. Night stretch. The suits move like they're pulled by a magnet under the floor. We catch a whiff of the puppet's philosophy, count the lost, keep the memory alive, and the bookside physics of agony begin to fill in the gaps. You don't need a parts and service table to explain these monsters. You need time, plus pain, revelation. This isn't an adaptation, it's a consequence. The film isn't staging FNAF 2's factory drama, it's staging the aftermath of FNAF 1 if you never cleared the ghosts. In that reading, the Withereds are the FNAF 1 suits pushed past their expiration date by hate. They don't need toy templates to justify their look. They need years of not being laid to rest. Endgame. The word the movie cares about is the one the games hid under bolts. Agony. The last act hammers it. Fire can char, locks can hold, but if pain lives in the metal, it waits. The designs on screen function as exhibits, not blueprints. Here's what happens if you ignore the ritual and let grief do the engineering. Before we move ahead, quick mini profiles appearance. Roll, threat like we're flipping cams. Freddy, film withered, pitted fur, intact mask, expressionless but unsettling gaze. Roll, late night gravity. He closes distance when we pretend the past is done. Threat, persistence. Bonnie, film withered, face intact, glazing cracks, shallow dents. Roll, left side pressure, slow stalker. Threat, the door frame moment. He owns it. Chica, film withered, intact beak, grease-baked bib. Roll, kitchen echo, clatter as omen. Threat, sound-driven dread. Foxy, film withered, less skeletal, more curtain ghoul. Roll, sprint threat on a fuse you can't predict. Threat, sudden corridor collapse. Alright, why would the movie do this? Here's the spine of the theory. The timeline crisis. Agony canon, not parts canon. By presenting Withereds that are classic suits left to rot, the film signals a radical departure from the game's FNAF 2 chain. No toy line. Then the Withereds were never dismantled to build toys. Their condition must come from time and torment, not harvest. That swaps the entire cause and effect. Games, old suits, harvested, toys built. Old suits become withered by theft. Movie, classic suits, abandoned. Agony saturates, withered by suffering. And that shift accomplishes two things at once. It frees the film from toy era logistics. No mask tricks, no prize corner timer, no BB stole your batteries side quests. The story focuses on haunting, not mechanics. It centralizes the book physics the series has circled for years. Agony doesn't just possess, it erodes. It stains. It keeps building even when the humans stop. So what does this all mean for the timeline? Glad you asked. 3 clear outcomes. Outcome A. The film's FNAF 2 is actually FNAF 1 Aftermath. Same characters, later state. The label FNAF 2 refers to the second movie, not the second game's plot. We're watching the result of the first location's sins, not a prequel about toys. That's why the models mirror FNAF 1 silhouettes with extra rot. Outcome B. The toy line exists off screen, fun, but the trauma beat wins. A compromised Red says toys might be in this continuity, just not here. Either way, the edits chose to foreground agony. When you make a 2-hour film, you pick a theme. Pain sticks around and changes the room is cleaner than we built plastic cheeks with facial recognition. Outcome C, composite canon game behaviors bent around book rules. The designs act like a Rosetta Stone, classic bodies. Game, aged by spiritual physics. Book, it lets the script deliver familiar faces while arguing a new thesis. Time is the real parts in service when a soul won't let go. Let's line up the evidence that the Withered paradox is deliberate, not an accident of foam and paint. Damage pattern, corrosion, mildew fuzz, faded dye, weather not workbench, missing toy markers, no plastic cheek blush, no glossy eye housings, no toy silhouette quirks. Behavior, less AI routine, more attention reactive dread. They wake when you acknowledge them. That's a grief mechanic, not a patrol algorithm. Environmental storytelling. The pizzeria looks like an object lesson and waited too long. You don't stage that set if your story is about a backroom parts swap. Could there be alternative explanations? Sure. Let's hit 2 and stress test them. Alt 1, budget on production shorthand. Maybe the team reused FNAF 1 molds with heavier weathering and called it a day. Design constraints happen. Counterpoint, the camera keeps emphasizing time damage. The set supports the story choice. It feels intentional. Alt 2, illusion tech. Bookheads will ask if illusion disc could make classic suits appear different. Maybe, but illusions hide damage. They don't create a firm theme. The movie keeps pointing toward consequence. That's bigger than a filter. So what's the takeaway for the franchise's story? If the film is preaching agony over assembly, we get a cleaner moral spine. Ignore the ritual naming, remembrance, release, and the building grows fangs all by itself. You don't need a salvage table. Grief will do the welding, and that circles back to the puppet, to Charlotte's old job, and to Henry's big speech in the other timeline. Rituals matter. Win the song, give gifts, give life, or don't, and watch the suits weather into something that hunts because the room is tired of being silent. One last walkthrough beat just to leave the image with you. Picture the stage. Freddy's mic catches a strip of light. Dust dances in the beam like confetti from a party nobody cleaned up. The camera drifts. Bonnie's ears twitch. No cuts, no vents, no scavenger scars. Only that awful soft truth. They weren't dismantled, they were abandoned. And abandonment in this universe is a forge. Alright, that's the Withered paradox. How the FNAF 2 movie breaks the timeline. What we're seeing on the suits, how they behave on screen, the story beat that swaps parts and service for agony, and why this sequel isn't adapting FNAF 2 so much as it's showing us what happens after you refuse to let the dead rest. The Unwithereds. You've seen them. The classic FNAF 1 crew, clean faces and smoother shells. And you've probably asked, are these new characters or did someone just buff the corpses? We're going to break down how the Unwithered look compared to their wrecked predecessors, how they behave when we actually encounter them, the timeline that welds FNAF 2's broken relics to FNAF 1's refurbished mascots, and the disturbing theory that the Unwithereds are not replacements at all, just the same haunted bodies and presentable skins. We'll hit appearance, behavior, story, and theories. So sit back, relax, and let's dive back into the world of FNAF. First context, Unwithered isn't an official in-game label. It's the community's shorthand for the FNAF 1 line, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, who look intact next to the shredded, withered models from FNAF 2. Timeline-wise, FNAF 2 happens first, a grand reopening with toy animatronics up front and the old models decaying in back. Things go wrong, the location shutters, and sometime later, a smaller Freddy's opens with the 4 classic suits, neat enough to hang children's drawings again. If we map the spaces, FNAF 2 is a bright party maze with a prize corner and no doors. FNAF 1 is a cramped office with 2 steel shutters, a flickering fan, and posters that feel like they were stapled up to hide stains. It's the same brand with a different alibi. Before we talk motives, let's see the difference. A tour through faces and seams. Withered Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, FNAF 2 are mangled and nightmarish. Torn fur, exposed endos, hanging wires. We notice Bonnie's entire faceplate missing, empty socket staring, Chica's jaw unhinged with fingers jammed in the mouth. Foxy split down the sides, lanky and inhuman, fabric gone, piston bones on display. Even Freddy looks like a taxidermy job losing the fight with time. Unwithered, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy. FNAF 1, red, cheery, and polished at a glance. Solid fur, complete faces, fewer rips. But the longer we look, the more expressionless but unsettling they become. Freddy's half-lidded stare follows the camera. Bonnie's smooth mask looks like a replacement shell over something that shouldn't smile. Chica's beak and bib are bright enough to be new, the eyes too reflective. Foxy is out of order, hiding his body behind a curtain like a patient who won't show the chart. The uncanny punchline. The fixed look doesn't feel healthy, it feels concealed. Function, behavior. When do we meet the Unwithereds, and what actually triggers them? In FNAF 1, the loop is power versus presence. We manage doors and lights. They wander when it's dark and the building is cheap. Triggers are basic. Time progression, camera checks, and your power budget. Freddy becomes more aggressive when you track him. Bonnie and Chica ping-pong the halls, peeking in the door frames like actors missing their cues. Foxy sprints from Pirate Cove if you ignore him too long, peek too rarely. A reverse of FNAF 2 Foxy's flash to reset. Golden Freddy glitches reality if you humor the wrong poster. If FNAF 2 is plate-spinning panic with vents and a music box, FNAF 1 is budget horror. You can't afford safety all night. The Unwithereds punish misallocated power. Now the lore connection. Carefully, because this is where the disturbing truth lives. The accepted broad stroke is, the old models in FNAF 2 get shelved after the incidents. Then a later Freddy's opens with what looks like the original lineup, prettier and less broken. The puppet and marionette has already done give gifts, give life in the background. Children's souls anchored to suits. It seems likely the classic 4 are the same haunted occupants, just refurred, reframed, and reintroduced to the public. If so, the Unwithered are not new, they're cosmetically laundered. Let's walk it like a narrated playthrough to feel the handoff. Setup, the back room and the bright room. In FNAF 2, we stroll past the Withereds in parts and service. Freddy's plate askew, Bonnie faceless, Chica choking on hands, Foxy skeletonized. We hear corporate sanity on the phone and feel the rot in the walls. Up front, the toys flash smiles, the prize corner whirs, and we wind a music box like we're keeping a heart beating. The old models are visibly haunted. The new ones are haunted with better lighting. Investigation, closure, cleanup, reskin. Things end badly. The brand retools. When the doors open again, the FNAF 1 office is smaller, poorer, and older, like a budget spin-off location. The animatronics, suddenly complete. Freddy's face is whole. Bonnie has a mask again. Chica's beak is intact. Foxy has a curtain to hide behind. It's a magic trick. Same stage, new paint. We can smell the glue. Rising danger. The telltales. Night after night in FNAF 1, we notice 3 things that betray the refurbishment lie. Foxy's out of order. If these were truly new suits, why is Foxy broken again the moment we start? Because he never got truly fixed. He got repackaged. The eyes, Freddy's mic stare, Chica's reflective pupils, Bonnie's slow tilt head, the soul tell that doesn't polish out. Behavioral inheritance. Foxy still punishes neglect. Freddy still escalates in the dark. Chica still hangs at your door like she's caught in a loop. Bonnie's office slides feel like a habit, not a bug. We're not watching new AI, we're watching old impulses in smoother skins. Final nights, budget morality play. By night 5 and night 6, the Unwithereds handle like stitched together ethics. They don't sprint to kill, they wait for your power to die because the building trained them. When 0% hits and Freddy's face blinks in the door, we understand the ugly logic. Corporate didn't solve the haunting. It set a curfew and handed the night guard a bill. When the check prints, the horror is that we got paid to prove the shells were safe enough. Before we move on, mini profiles, appearance, role, threat to lock the lineup. Freddy, Unwithered, smooth bare face, half-lidded stare, expressionless but unsettling. Role, late game closer, moves when watched poorly. Threat, end of night kill once power fails. Camera tracking mind games. Bonnie, Unwithered, full mask restored, cheery and polished plating. Role, left side corridor pressure, patient intruder. Threat, quiet office appearances, punishes bad door timing. Chica, Unwithered. Intact beak and bib, glossy eyes. Role, right side pressure, noise lure with kitchen clatter. Threat, door blindness and camera detours that waste power. Foxy, Pirate Cove. hidden rips. Lanky and humanoid hinted behind curtain. Roll, timer test, punishes neglect. Threat, sprint and door check tax, drains power if mishandled. So what's the disturbing truth about the Unwithereds? Here's the core theory. Likeliest theory, refurbished ghosts, same bodies, new skins. The FNAF 1 models are the Withereds repaired, not replaced, to pass a cheaper reopening. The company didn't exercise, it referred. The endoskeletons and remnant, the soul stuff the series hints at, remained. Management swapped faceplates, torsos, and outer fur to reduce visible damage. That's why behavioral signatures persist. That's why Foxy starts broken. That's why Golden Freddy still bends the room. The Unwithereds are presentable corpses, the same haunted machines with a cleaner alibi. If the Withereds were crime scene photos, the Unwithereds are the airbrushed yearbook shots of the same victims. Implications that make this worse. Ethical laundering. Reusing the haunted hardware implies someone knew there was something in the suits and did it anyway. The puppet already proved souls cling to shells. The fix was to hide the evidence and reopen. Foxy as Canary, the one they can't convincingly fix. Foxy is shoved behind a curtain and labeled out of order. This is not maintenance, it's containment theater. Power economy as muzzle. The FNAF 1 loop, power budget, functions like a corporate muzzle. Let the animatronics move, but keep the lights and locks scarce so human error explains any incident. Alternative reading, illusion discs, and perception masking. If you lean book-aligned, the Unwithereds could be with the same damage under illusion tech. The smoother faces and normal proportions are a perception filter. To a child, they're cute. To a worn-down night guard at 4 AM, the mask flickers and you glimpse the rips. This explains why the models look clean in posters and wrong in motion, why Pirate Cove's curtain remains, to anchor the illusion in one place, and why Golden Freddy shatters presentation entirely. It swaps new shells for new lies, landing at the same moral place. Spicier angle, soul redistribution by the puppet. A rarer theory suggests the puppet deliberately refaced the old crew after the FNAF 2 disaster, reassigning masks, literally in the minigame sense, to stabilize their identities before the next reopening. The Unwithereds become ritual restorations rather than corporate refurbishments. A Guardian's attempt to give the lost their faces back. It's poetic, but it doesn't absolve the company that ran them again for profit. Let's separate supported from inferred to keep us honest. Supported by the games. FNAF 2 precedes FNAF 1. Withered models exist alongside a newer toy line. The next location operates with a classic 4 who behave like refined versions of the same threads. Foxy is out of order again. Poped, Weir economy defines FNAF 1's risk. Golden Freddy and odd eye behaviors persist. Strongly suggested by presentation, the FNAF 1 crew feels refurbished, not reinvented. Audio AI signatures rhyme across games. Public-facing art is cleaner than moment-to-moment animation. Inferred that the same endos and remnant were kept, that illusion tech or corporate reskinning hid structural damage, that the puppet intentionally restored faces. Canon leaves it foggy, but the behavioral continuity points to continuity of what's inside. One last walkthrough beat because it nails the mood. It's night 5 in FNAF 1. We're rationing power like it's oxygen. Bonnie breathes in the left door frame. Chica clinks plates in a kitchen that doesn't exist on camera. Foxy peeks wider and wider, a countdown in a curtain. We glance at the stage. Freddy's eyes glint, and for a split second, we see past the fur to a shape we remember from the back room of FNAF 2. The door light flickers. We shut the door. The meter dies. Freddy's jingle rolls, sweet as ever. That's the Unwithered truth. The faces got nicer. The nights didn't. Alright, that's our breakdown of the disturbing truth about the Unwithereds. The clean shells that still move like the dead. The behaviors that betray what's underneath. The timeline handoff from withered disaster to refurbished denial. And the theories that explain why a new coat of fur never stopped an old haunting. King Balloon Boy, why he looks like a harmless kid, why he never attack kills you, why he ruins your flashlight in FNAF 2 and your ventilation in FNAF 3, why he laughs instead of screaming, and what on earth his place is in the story. We'll tour appearance and behavior first, walk the timeline like a narrated playthrough, and then I'll lay out my theory for who Balloon Boy is and how he connects to the core tragedy plus a lean alternative so you can pick your poison. So sit back, relax, and let's dive back into the world of FNAF. First, context. Balloon Boy lives in the FNAF 2 grand reopening era. No office doors, a Freddy head for disguise, a music box keeping the puppet asleep, and vents that spit problems straight into your lap. BB prowls the left vent and the main hall threshold. If he gets inside, he smiles and your flashlight dies. He returns as Phantom Balloon Boy in FNAF 3, a charred green echo that jumps your view and drops your ventilation to error. Across both games, his calling card isn't teeth, it's denying you air and light. Keep that pairing in your head, it's the key. Before we theorize, let's see him. BB reads like a party favor that learned to walk. Round cheeks, glassy eyes, red and blue propeller cap, striped shirt, and that little sign, balloons. Clean seams, soft colors, cheery and polished. Park him in the office for 5 seconds and the smile becomes expressionless but unsettling. Not because he's menacing, but because he isn't. He's the only major threat that looks like a child instead of a bear or a rabbit. His sister Echo JJ, muted colors under the desk, is a visual glitch that makes you doubt your own eyes. In FNAF 3, Phantom BB keeps the silhouette but arrives mangled and nightmarish. Scorched tint, smoking edges, a jerkin that yanks your camera forward. Same personality, different costume. Function and behavior. When do we encounter him and what flips the switch? In FNAF 2, BB is a sound cue first. Hi. Hello? Giggles from the ductwork. He climbs the left vent, teases the hall, and if he crosses your threshold, he doesn't jump scare. He steals your flashlight. Without it, Withered Foxy becomes inevitable and the hallway turns into a black throat. Balloon Boy doesn't stab you, he makes the systems kill you. In FNAF 3, look at Phantom BB on the wrong cam too long and he slams your screen, collapses your ventilation, and invites hallucinations until the only physical hunter arrives. Again, he never deals the final blow, he opens a back door and lets consequence in. Tie that to the wider lore. FNAF's pillars are kid spaces weaponized, ritual enforcement, systems horror, and old tech reused until it screams. BB fits uncomfortably well. He promises balloons and steals breath. He says hello and turns the lights off. It has been theorized he's a harmless greeter routine whose behavior became lethal when paired with other animatronics. But if we step back and map his choices, vents, light denial, ventilation errors, a pattern emerges that looks less like random nuisance and more like theme. So let's walk the nights like a playthrough so you can feel what BB actually does to you. Night 2, FNAF 2. Fan hum, prize corner whine. You set your loop, wind cam 11, drop, mask, count a beat, flash hallway for Foxy, check the vents, repeat. Then, hi, the left vent shows cheeks and a cap. You pop the mask and he retreats. You think you've solved him, until the next pass, when the music box drops too low and Foxy parks in the hall. You greed the wind. Hello, drop cam, and the room has changed. Your flashlight meter won't tick. BB smiles like a sticker. You can keep the puppet down or keep Foxy down, but not both. That's BB's real attacks. Divide attention, remove a tool, force a wrong choice. Cut to FNAF 3. Your babysitting systems, audio lures, cams, ventilation. Phantom BB sits on a feed like a greasy thumbprint. 1 second too long and he's in your face, your ventilation coughs out, and while you reboot, ghosts flood the halls and the one real monster adjusts his path. The personality is unchanged. BB destroys air and light, the things your brain needs to think straight. He turns competence into panic. Alright, here's the part you clicked for. My inventive solve is what I call the Air Kid theory. Balloon Boy is the spirit of a child who suffocated during a daytime incident tied to a party setup. Balloons, vents, breath, and his behaviors are the grief echo of running out of air. In life, he's a kid obsessed with the party trappings, balloons, signs, candy-striped colors. In death, he becomes the avatar of air in the Fazbear ecosystem. That's why every significant thing he does targets breathing and seeing. Balloons, breath. The prop isn't just carnival dressing, it's a literal symbol for air management. He brings a balloon, then takes your balloon away, your flashlight, and later, your ventilation. Vents, your last crawl spaces. He travels by vents because that's where he died, or tried to hide. He's not a hallway hunter, he's a ducked ghost. Flashlight denial. Foxy kills. He hates your light because adults with flashlights and checklists failed him. You think light equals safety. He believes light isn't what saves you, air does. FNAF 3 ventilation errors. Phantom BB's one trick is yanking your air. He doesn't harm your audio or cams first. He goes straight for oxygen, because that's what was missing when he needed help. Hi, hello. Not an attack scream, a contact call. Kids call out when they're lost. All he learned was that calling for help gets ignored while the routine continues. His hello precedes your night collapsing because being ignored killed him. How does he connect to the core story? Through Charlotte, Puppet, and Henry on one side, and Foxy Mangle on the other. It seems likely that the puppet collected this child like the others. Give gifts, give life is literally Charlotte organizing grief. But because his trauma was air, his attachment found the nearest kid-coded chassis built for crowd hospitality. BB units were greeters and rewrote the job, monitor air by punishing negligence. That's why his most aggressive form is in FNAF 3. The venue obsessed with ventilation panels. He's the kid whose last memory was gasping, hijacking any night where adults forget to breathe and listen. On the other side, notice his symbiosis with Foxy. In FNAF 2, BB almost never kills you directly, Foxy does. Who wore the Foxy mask during the Crying Child era? The bullies. BB's prankster profile, giggles, and tool steal read like a kid prank that escalates into real harm because the room is built wrong. Whether or not he's literally one of those boys, the pattern rhymes. A child's mischief becomes an adult's catastrophe in seconds. BB is the echo of, it's just a joke in a place where jokes kill. Let me connect the dots cleanly with 5 load-bearing facts BB solves. Why no direct kill? Because his trauma isn't predation. He didn't die to teeth, he died to air. His haunting removes the conditions that keep you alive and lets the predators do the rest. Why flashlight only? Light is the wrong adult obsession from his view. Adults flash lights, check forms, and miss the air problem. He punishes the illusion of safety. Why vents? Specifically left vent. That route mirrors a maintenance party path. A crawl where a kid could slip, hide, or asphyxiate. Left vent isn't magic, it's a memory map. Why is Phantom BB the ventilation breaker? Because in a later venue that literally puts oxygen on a status screen, his haunting expresses at full volume, fix the air or die. Why JJ? JJ is the glitch twin, the second echo you aren't supposed to notice. Think of JJ as the passive counterpart. A quiet, low-oxygen haze that sits under your desk while the loud echo, BB, announces himself. 2 expressions of the same breath ghost. Does the theory dovetail with Henry and Charlotte? Yes. The puppet enforces remembrance via the music box, a machine that sounds like a ventilator. BB enforces breath attention by stealing light and sabotaging vents. Both are rituals of care inverted by a building that refuses to care. Charlotte binds souls to masks so they won't be forgotten. The Air Kid strips tools so adults have to notice what actually matters. Now, if you want a spicier alternative that still fits the behaviors, here's the runner-up, the prankster bully possession. In this reading, BB is one of the FNAF 4 bully friends, not Michael, a kid who loved getting a rise out of the crying child. He later dies during the reopening chaos and possesses a greeter unit. His giggles and hello are prank language. His tool steal is the ultimate joke. Make the adult powerless and let Foxy finish the scare. It maps the Foxy synergy perfectly and explains why BB feels mean without ever striking. The connection to story is poetic. A prank became a haunting that only does pranks. And in Freddy's, pranks are executions. Versus my main solve, the Air Kid theory answers more of the weird edges. Why the ventilation fixation in FNAF 3 is BB's signature. Why his props are balloons, air, and a sign, greeter. And why his voice is friendly right before you suffocate the run. Separate supported from inferred, so we keep this honest. Supported by gameplay, BB approaches via the Elephant. T-Vent Hall disables the flashlight if he enters and indirectly hands you to Foxy. JJ is a rare underdesk variant. Phantom BB jumps your view and forces ventilation failure in FNAF 3. Strongly suggested by presentation, BB is kid-coded and non-lethal, the perfect corporate deniability mask for a system that still kills you. Inferred, the suffocation backstory and puppet link. The idea that balloons, vents, air are the core trauma shaping his haunting. The canon stays foggy on purpose, but the behavior chain lines up like gears. Before we close, imagine the night the way BB remembers it. A party room smells like latex and sugar. Balloons bounce on strings. A kid crawls where he shouldn't, or gets left where the air is wrong, calling hello, while adults follow a checklist. A minute later, it's quiet. Years later, You sit in a chair and do the exact same thing. He takes your light, your air, and your certainty and says, "Hi." That's not a greeting, it's a reenactment. Alright, that's how I finally solved FNAF's biggest plot hole, Balloon Boy. The theory that plugs every hole by making him the air kid who's haunting his breath, not bite. One more beat to lock the mood. Picture a poster with Freddy's smile. Paper ripples in the AC draft. For a blink, it isn't Freddy on the paper, it's gold. Wrong, slack-jawed. The band kicks back in on the soundtrack like nothing happened. But you saw it. And the room saw that you saw it. That's the movie's sweet spot. Not jump scares on a timer, attention as a key in the wrong lock. Alright, those are the FNAF 2 movie theories you need on hand before showtime. If one of these pings for you, tell me which one in the comments, or drop your own wild card. If you had a good time, smack the like button, and of course subscribe to Horror Lorekeeper for more FNAF and horror deep dives. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.